Hello, Internet. Welcome back to Jams by Jish. I'm Jish, and today I have a quick video. I want to talk about the new remake of Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door on Switch. What I think it did well, what I think it could have done a little better, and just the challenge that it was facing, really. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like, comment, and subscribe. I'm not going to include any excerpts of the song. I'm just going to play some of them in the background. This way, Nintendo doesn't murder me in my sleep. Without further ado, let's get into it. So, there's a couple of new themes in this game. There's some changes to the old themes, some changes to the instrumental palette, some references to other Mario OSTs, and an overall genre change of most of the songs, I'd say. It's a lot to talk about. It's very interesting, but I think that it's worth exploring. And I'm going to preface this by saying that Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door has one of my favorite soundtracks of all time. And I went into this very skeptical that they'd be able to expand upon the magic of the first one. I say that just based off of the experience I had from Super Smash Bros. Remixes, from Pokemon remixes, just other remakes and remixes. And let's start by saying that this game has a fully different instrumental palette. You listen to the Paper Mario Thousand Year Door on the GameCube, and it's like a techno game, practically. All the music has synth, the guitar is very light, there's practically no drums, it's just all synth, very fun, very chiptune, very reminiscent of the very early Mario games. But this game feels much more in line with your modern Mario soundtrack. There's a full orchestration for nearly every song on the soundtrack, except for the ones that are done in very specific styles. It's heavily mixed towards the very bright strings, which is good. It can sometimes be a lot, but I like it most of the time. There's an occasional piano that you could hear. For example, you hear it in the main theme. And there is occasional synth also, and that gives a cool juxtaposition when it's paired with the orchestration of the rest of the track. I also love when they use the xylophone, because the xylophone is just one of those instruments that I personally associate with Mario. And then some other important details are there's a very rock sound to this soundtrack. There's heavier focus on the drums. There's a really sexy slap bass, and some frequent heavy guitars. I've seen a lot of people critique it, say that it can be a little cluttered and distracting. It's certainly a brighter and more polished sound. I would say that it's different for sure, right? And I don't want to say that I don't like it. I'm still adjusting, and I'm very biased because I love the original soundtrack. But I understand the critiques that are calling it cluttered. I don't think I'd do that, but it's busier than the original for sure. And this game, it makes some changes to some of the old song structures in the name of reducing repetition, right? There's lots of new counter melodies in existing tracks. One good example is in the Magnus von Grapple boss theme. I think that this is a really good instance where they add just this enticing counter melody when it was originally a much more straightforward track. And now it's complex, it's ominous, but it's also epic. And a completely new style, really. There's a lot of breakdowns and solos in areas where there weren't any before. I noticed this in the Exnaut Fortress theme and in Bowser's theme. And there's a lot of parts that are additional that weren't in the original tracks. And I think this is most apparent in the title theme that just practically has a whole C section now, when it was only an A and B, and then it just repeated. And I think that all of us are still adjusting to these changes, but there's definitely instances where they've made these changes that I really like them. And I could see what they're doing, right? You know, this music gets played all the time in these games. This is a game where you tend to grind a little bit, and it can get repetitive traditionally. So they added more variation to the music. And there's also a ton of brand new themes. You know, themes for dramatic moments, like Ms. Mouse's theme, which is a real highlight, and I think it blends right in. It could have been in the original, and it would have been perfect. There's also a really exciting theme for Prince Mush. I haven't gotten there in the game yet, but I'm really excited to see it. There's like specialized themes for particular locations. Like the inn theme is different than just the exterior theme. It almost feels like you're in a pub, which I love. And a lot of unique battle themes across the map. In fact, like you only hear the traditional battle theme in that one starting area. And it's an adjustment. That's the one that I'm most skeptical of because I love the original battle theme. But that's my nostalgia, right? I'll get over that. And I do love the attention to detail and the love that's gone into the soundtrack. You know, there's been efforts to reference other Mario tracks with like motifs like the sitar in underground areas and 8-bit breakdowns in the title sequence, heavy guitar in reference to like Bowser's theme, or just the xylophone, which I touched on earlier. But I do want to talk about that central genre change, right? It's gone from very like synth techno to rock and roll, like heavy rock and roll, heavy drums, heavy bass, heavy guitar. And, you know, I've seen a lot of people be upset about that, right? Because it's just not the kind of soundtrack that you imagine for the original. And I understand that for sure. But that's why I'm really glad that the developers gave you an option to just buy a badge that plays the original soundtrack. So if the original soundtrack is what you crave, it's all yours. And I think that this is a good case of, you know, a game where they had a nearly impossible task. This game is 23 years old, 24 years old, improving on what's considered a great soundtrack and in a way that will satisfy the die-hard fans is really, really tough. So they didn't really seek to improve. They sought to be different. They sought to give more. And I think they did that very effectively. You know, I'm still playing through the game, but I'm liking what I'm seeing so far. That's all for today. Hope you all enjoy. Bye-bye.